hunting season is in full gear here in Florida. But before you start looking at open houses or exploring model homes, today we're going to talk about 7 homes that you might want to avoid putting on the short list. Before we begin though, if we have not met, I'm Lisa McBride with Sarasota Neighborhood Experts. My team and I love helping so many of you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And if you have questions about relocating or neighborhoods here in the Florida Gulf Coast area, I have links in my description box below on relocation guide and a neighborhood guide. Now let's get right into the 7 homes that I would say to take off of your list. And number 1 is a home that's going to back up to a major highway or road. Now, I know as you drive through a lot of these communities, sometimes you don't even know if there's a busy road behind you because there's trees, there's walls, there's berms and landscaping. And so it's imperative to know exactly where you are in these communities, because you might find your dream home and move in, and then suddenly the next thing you know, there is a car that drives by with booming music, or it only takes one motorcycle revving its engines before you realize this isn't exactly what you expected. So normally I would say steer away from any home that backs up to a major road. Not only is there a little bit of annoyance with noise, also homes that back up to major roads typically take twice as long to sell in a neighborhood and will sell for 5 to 15% less than other homes. So even a block away can make a huge difference in neighborhoods. So just avoid really busy roads when looking at homes. Now there's a few rules in real estate that we all know about, and location is something we always hear in real estate. But the number 2 rule is don't be the most expensive home in the neighborhood. First, you are not going to appreciate at the same level as some of the other homes. 2, it may be harder to sell. 1, you just can't find comps in the neighborhood that are going to support your price sometimes, making it more difficult. And everyone's going to look at what else is around you. So it is hard. For instance, I know of a home seller right now that built 4 years ago in a very nice mid-sized community. Didn't have a lot of amenities in this community, but there was a model that they just loved. And they added their own pool and they added lots of custom finishes, and it was a big home in a very mid-sized neighborhood. Unfortunately now, as they're ready to move on to a community that has lots of amenities, they're really struggling with selling this home. And in actuality, they're losing some of the value they put into the home. And no one likes to lose value. Unfortunately, this is always going to be the most expensive home in this community, and it's always going to be the hardest home to sell. You really have to find the right buyer and to really fall in love with it. Now here in our area, it is pretty typical for some of our luxury builders, such as John Cannon or Lee Weatherington, to purchase a few lots in multiple different neighborhoods. We see this a lot specifically in Star Farms right now, where they have a number of luxury homes being built. However, again, the appreciation and holding their value, even though these are beautiful homes, aren't going to be the same as if they were built in, let's say, a luxury neighborhood such as Wild Blue. But I do understand there's going to be a big difference in cost. So sometimes you just have to weigh the pros and cons of that with being the most expensive home. All right, the number 3 home that I would suggest avoiding, and that is a home in a flood zone. Unfortunately, we know Florida has a lot of flood zones, and people are always asking about that. But now, after the recent hurricanes and the flooding we've experienced here in Sarasota and Manatee counties, I definitely want people to check and dive further into what the flood zones are, not only in your particular neighborhood, but the neighborhoods surrounding you. Because your neighborhood may not flood, but if your neighborhoods around you are flooding, you still may be stuck in your home. And as in the case in my previous neighborhood, 3/4 of my neighbors were in AE and I was in X. During Hurricane Debbie, the neighborhood did flood. Thankfully, thank God, my house did not flood, and I definitely was in X. And after experiencing this, I can really see how these flood zones are determined and why they're determined the way they are. However, since so much of my neighborhood flooded, I still lost power. I still was stuck in my home. It was very hard to watch, and it's very devastating. So looking for homes outside of the flood zone, not only for flooding purposes, but the cost of insurance purposes are really, really important. So I would say avoid homes in flood zones if you can. All right, the number 4 home that I tell people to avoid if they can are those homes that have been remodeled by DIYers. Now, we can all do projects throughout our home, and I think it's great to do some things yourself. I mean, most of us can paint our homes and add some shelving perhaps. However, those homes that have been completely flipped, remodeled, and the homeowner has done most of it, well, they may look good, but was it done correctly? Were the cabinets really hung straight? Did the cabinet doors all close properly? This is what I find by a lot of do-it-yourselfers. Also, here in Florida, we need to pull permits for a lot of work that's being done, and they don't always do that. So there's a lot of unpermitted work. So when it comes time to sell it and there's no permits, nobody can trace the history, there's just so many things that can go wrong after the fact. And again, a lot of people like to do the cosmetic work and avoid the large mechanical work because they don't want to pay for it, such as your plumbing, your electrical, your roofing. Those are all big ticket items that can be avoided by the homes that are just cosmetically updated. So you really want to avoid those homes that the do-it-yourselfer has done. All right, the next on our list of homes to avoid, this one may surprise you a little bit, but as we have such beautiful communities with lots of amenities and beautiful pools and pickleball and tennis courts, I'm gonna say to avoid buying a home that is right across or close to the amenity center. Now, I've had more than one client tell me they moved into a home close to amenities. They thought it would be convenient. They could get to the pool or they could play sports, and it was really fun to be right there until the noise got to them. And unfortunately, pickleball, as much as it swept the nation, has also caused a lot of havoc for some homeowners. Actually, I even know a few communities, older communities, that have now banned it because there's too many homes surrounding the pickleball courts and people have complained. So you never want to be right across from the amenities. And it's not just pickleball. It could be people in the pool. It could be social gatherings. It could be late night parties. There's so many things that go into these amenity centers. And obviously the communities want people to enjoy them, but you may not want to be the one right next to it. So even a block away can make a huge difference when it comes to noise levels and amenity centers. Now, the number 6 on our list is that overly customized home. Now, as we were talking about with the most expensive or a do-it-yourselfer, when somebody over-customizes their home, it can be done with the top quality materials. It could be done with the best contractors. But when a home is specifically done to that homeowner's taste, the next homeowner may be like, it's gorgeous, but I don't need that fancy wall, or I don't need that custom fireplace, and they may be a little bit hesitant to pay the price for all the upgrades. So an overly customized home usually has a little bit tougher time selling and also holding its value for what you put into it. So I would avoid purchasing an over customized home. Before we move on to number 7, don't forget to leave comments below. Give me a call if I can be of any help. As I said, we love helping so many of you buy, sell, and invest in real estate. Right, the last one on our list, number 7, and this is the one that I said may surprise you the most. I'm gonna tell you to never buy a home in a community that does not have deed restrictions. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying deed restrictions. I'm not talking about HOAs, because yes, communities that have deed restrictions can definitely have HOAs, but a lot of deed restricted communities, you're not paying HOA fees, so there's a difference. But why I say to always buy a home with deed restrictions, because you actually do want to have some rules and regulations in place. You don't want your neighbor to be able to, let's say, paint their home purple, or put their car on blocks in the driveway and work on it, or leave their boat parked in the street. If there's no deed restrictions in place, they can do whatever they want, and that will typically lower your values for the surrounding homes. And so you want to have some conformity, you want to have some restrictions. You don't want to buy a home if there is no deed restrictions. So what are your thoughts? Have you ever bought one of these 7 homes? And if so, would you do it again? I'd love to hear your comments below. As always, I greatly appreciate you watching. If I can be of any help, give me a call today. If you'd like more information on neighborhoods, there's a link in the description box below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.